They don't think you could do it, but tell you to try when they talk. All I hope had to keep it alive. Spend a day in the Bronx, but you wouldn't survive. Can be low when I pop out, they know I've arrived. I go have conversations with Zoe, he gon' tell me pull up and come say what you know. I've been up, I can count all them days in a row. We don't say what we do, we be making the show. They say I'll be
the voice of the Bronx. We have Bronx Slam with the guys are out here. Can I get a yeah?
Leave them all right where they at. Try to diss me, I bet I don't even react. Put a show on, I bet you somebody gon' I pick me a book up and drink me some water, invest in the stock. All
right, peace and love, world. Welcome to another episode of Conversation with Zoe. Today's a very special day. We in Black Wall Street, making things happen out here. But, we got a father, entrepreneur, earn your leisure, investor, financial educator. Definitely shout out to my guy, Lester Taylor, for putting me on. This is March 2020 during COVID. He's like, yo, if we home, you got to be listening to this. And he sent me Earn Your Leisure, Wall Street Trapper. He gave me the kit, pretty much. So I'm super thankful for him because I was 2 years into my financial literacy journey at the time. And just listening like 3 episodes a day, y'all was going crazy at the time, dropping crazy episodes on Toro and everything. And it was just like, this is like gold. Like I'm sending, like people asking me for information and I'm just sending them episodes of Earn Your Leisure. Now, if you didn't even listen to that, then we have no conversation because it starts with that. You feel what I mean? Yeah. So we got my guy Troy Millings here. I'm saying, welcome, my brother.
I'm happy to be here, man. I appreciate it that you started with father. Most people they forget that part of this journey.
Man.
Yes, we have businesses, and yes, we like scaling business, and yes, we have families. But that father part, like, yes, I'm a husband as well, but the father part is one of those driving forces that people forget inside of this. Like, yes, we do have a personal life. Yes, we do have families. And those are the most important things to us. So I appreciate that.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm a young father myself. I have 2 beautiful boys. Shout out to Hendrix and Lennox. And, where we come from is something that we got to be intentional about and promoting and making sure that we showing active, present Black fathers.
Oh, 1,000%. That's something that, there was this stigma when we was growing up that there was absentees in the Black family, right? Mm-hmm. The absentee father. But, where I grew up, there was Black fathers everywhere.
Right.
All my friends had fathers, or whether they was with, their mothers, that was different. But the father was always there.
Right.
And so when, we were coming up, it was like, we want to be super intentional about promoting that. And you can see the correlation throughout the country, right? We don't really see that too many. You got athletes, LeBron, Chris Paul, like all these guys, Dwayne Wade, like all these athletes have stayed with their families and stayed with their wives, and they're representing at a high level. And so who are we not to continue that?
Right. So I was able to reach out to a few people. I know everybody's extremely busy, but definitely shout out to Weezy WTF. I know we had Greenleaf Multimedia today, but WTF is home for me. But Weezy sent you a message.
I was with her the other night.
Right. She goes, Troy, oh my gosh, I just love you so much. You are one of my favorite examples to use of a successful married man. I know that statement may come off as a surprise, but seriously, I'm sure people will always talk about how much of an inspiration you are because of your success. But your relationship with your wife has really given me faith that rich niggas can be loyal and celebrate their day at the same time. I really fuck with how much of a stand-up dude you are. It's my favorite part about you. Actually, no, it's not. It's how much you spend at my studio is.
This is true.
Haha. Love you. So definitely shout out to Weezy for that message.
That's dope. That's dope.
I appreciate that. Anytime I interview somebody, I kind of have 6 degrees or somebody, how did you try to get a couple messages from people?
Yeah, the dope story about Weezy, I was with her the other night. We had just shot her episode. If you haven't checked it out, go check out her and Alex. WTF, that's like home for us. Right? When we're in the city, we know that's a place that we can go to shoot content. Right. We were at a premiere for Bad Boys.
Right.
And the woman who coordinates the event, she caught us standing next to each other. It's random. I'm saying what's up to her. I was with my wife. She was saying some of those things that you're saying now.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, D, like, Weezy? She was like, oh my God, I saw her on your episode. Right. She was like, hi, I'm Weezy. She's like, she was like, yeah, I saw you on the episode. That's why I invited you.
Right.
She was like, wait, I didn't get invited on my own merit? She was like, no, I saw you on the episode. And that's why I invited you. So it was a dope moment. Her and Mandy was there. And I'm as much praise that she's given inside that statement, man, I always praise them as well. I think obviously what they talk about, sex being one, is the topic, but I just think they're 2 brilliant Black women who, on the outside, they're doing some incredible things. Obviously, people know them for their content, but they're just 2 brilliant minds. I think 2 incredible businesswomen, 2 incredible entrepreneurs. So shout out to them because they're doing it at a very high level and doing it well. I haven't been able to see one of their live shows, but my part, shout out to Shotty, he went to see them live and said there's nothing like it. Their live performance is incredible. So I always want to give them their praise too.
Right. Definitely shout out to them. I'm looking forward to meeting Manny someday. Huge fan of their show. I've gotten a few shout outs on Horrible. I'm pretty proud of that.
Oh man, that's
you know
good.
What I'm saying? So that's pretty dope. But I got this from an episode that I was watching. But
Yeah.
you spoke about showing up as your authentic self, fresh Jordans, G-Shocks, watches, drove a BMW.
Mm-hmm.
There's 100% chance of being me.
Fact. That's a fact. That was, working inside the Bronx. Every day you show up as yourself, so especially when you're growing up in high school, you're trying to figure out who you are. And once you figure that out, it's like, oh, I'm good at doing this. And people love me for doing this and being who I am. But when I was teaching, I went into it with the same mentality. It was, I'm watching people that don't look like me trying to teach kids that do look like me. Yeah. And I know they can't relate to them the same way. And I'm like, well, what are they missing? And I was like, oh, it's the authenticity. Right. They can't relate to some of the experiences. They can't relate to the culture that they come up in, the foods, the music, none of that, the language. Right. And so I'm like, I have that as an advantage, right? So why wouldn't I try to front? Why wouldn't I try to stun on them? Right. So every day I'm showing up, new pair of sneakers. Before I say a word, the kids relate to that. They're like, wait, you got the J's 2 weeks before they came out? Right. Kids would be at the door trying to see what I was wearing. Right. Before I even had to say anything, they were like, oh, he's fresh. Right. That's it. Like, if nothing else, he's fresh. Mm-hmm. We didn't get to see like how he's going to have classroom management. Is the class going to be fun, or what we're going to learn today is going to be something that's going to be captivating? It was like, yo, he's fresh. Let's listen. Right. And so it was like, oh, I got him. But that was just naturally who I was. It was like I wanted to stay fresh. I wanted to have a fresh pair of kicks. I was wearing Nike Techs every day. When G-Shocks was popping, my G-Shocks was matching the fit. Right. So it was like, all right, we respect him just because he takes care of himself and he looks like the dudes that's in my neighborhood that I look up to. Right. And then I didn't want to show him my car because it's the Bronx. You know what I mean? It's a little different. Right. But the day everybody gets let out at the same time, I had to leave, it's like a parade. School let outs in the city is a parade.
250 hard stop, we all out. Yeah.
Everybody outside with it. And I actually pulled up to the stop sign and the kids were crossing and they saw me in it. They were like, oh shit. I can curse on here? Yeah, they was like, oh shit. They're like, yo, Millings, that's your car? That's your car, mister? When you start, you mister. Then when they respect you, you just your last name. They're like, yo, Millings, that's your car? I'm like, yeah. They were like, yo, that's crazy. Yo, you sell drugs? And I'm like, oh, when I come back tomorrow, I got a teaching point. Right. Because they only associate that type of luxury with people who have risked their freedoms in an illegal way. And I was like, nah, I'm your teacher. Right. Like, I come here every day. I don't have time to do that, right? But the fact that you could see somebody not doing those things that could risk their freedoms, have all the fresh clothes, have a nice car, oh, this can now become something that's inspirational, right? When we grow up, I don't know how many people wanted to be teachers, but if I could show them what it looks like to be one, show them they can have all the things and they could be authentically who they are, show up exactly how they are, then maybe I'd inspire a couple of them to say, all right, well, I know I wasn't thinking about it, but he made this thing look so cool that I definitely think this is something I can do in the future.
It's definitely another option. I mean, there's a lot of places and spaces that we belong in, but I feel like sometimes we didn't have the representation. And I feel like even at my school, with me having a podcast, having a nonprofit, Slice of Excellence, we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But
how many black teachers you got going on?
Ooh, damn. Miss Cobb, for sure. That's second grade teacher.
Me too. I was second grade teacher. That's dope.
Third, no. Fourth, no. Fifth, no. I think it's crazy. The most, I would say probably like 3, 4.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 3, 4.
That's crazy.
For sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's fact.
How many? Was there any males?
Latino, yes. I had Mr. Yates in boarding school. Shout out to my brother, Mr. Yates, Black Bill Gates. That's what I call him. That's my guy. Oh, Mr. Warren. He wasn't my teacher, but he was my mentor. One of my mentors at boarding school. He was in the building. Yeah, he was in the building. Shout out to the y'all. He's Jamaican. He was a soccer coach, and he was just giving us game. Like whenever we weren't doing if he say come to his house, that means he's gonna set the record straight. Like, yo, bro, we out here. Yeah. It's $50,000 school. You can't be doing that. Just move right. You know what I'm saying? So he definitely held us accountable. And I don't know if I'm blanking, but it's not that many.
There's a handful of us.
Right.
And so I think the percentage in New York City is like less than 1%. Mm-hmm. And you think you got over 850,000 students. and less than 1% of the kids, I mean, majority of the 850,000 are black and brown kids.
Yes.
And you have less than 1% of the people that actually are in those homes educating them on a daily basis.
Right.
And so there's going to be a cultural difference every day.
Right.
Right? There's going to be implicit bias every single day.
Right.
There's going to be some explicit bias every single day from the teachers, but also from the administration and the elected officials.
Right.
So you got to think about what they're facing. It's like, oh, I could change that, right? And most people go into it with that mindset of, yes, I want to teach, but I want to be a change agent. I think that's what you're doing for sure, and that's what my mindset was like. I could be a change agent. I could be a representation that they never seen that I didn't see. I had one black teacher throughout from K through 12, and then when I was a college freshman, I had a professor who was dope, and I'll never forget him. I think it was Professor Cole. We had to write an essay. It's the first time I ever did this. And I wrote inside of my essay, I put like a Styles P like verse in it. And he gave me an A on it.
Oh,
and I was like,
shout out to Styles P.
I'm like, oh, word? Like, he was like, nah, it's great. I love the alliteration you use in here. I love how you referenced it. It fit perfectly inside of the context of what I was asking. And I was like, oh, this is different. Like, this is different because he knew culturally who Styles was.
Right.
He knew the implicit, decoded meaning of what I was saying, and he got it. And once he got, I'm like, oh, bet, I want to be that for somebody. I want to be able to decode and be able to understand what they're saying when that person can't.
Right. Definitely shout out. I had Professor Stallings in college.
Yeah, now they all gonna hit you now.
Yeah.
Yo, how you forget me?
Yeah, no, definitely shout out to him. He actually started his own basketball league out in Connecticut when we was there.
Yeah.
And it was a sports management class. He had us looking for sponsors. And if you found a sponsor, he gave you 10%.
Oh, nice.
So he really gave me 10% of the two. I got a dentist's office and another spot just doing cold calls.
That's fire.
So that was pretty cool that he really stood on that. So
that's fire.
Good dude. We still friends on Facebook. He's really big in real estate.
Yeah.
And
But you see what you said? Right? Every guy that you named, they were connected to sports.
Right.
So even me, right? Like I was a phys ed teacher.
Right.
I mean, that was my connection to sports. I wanted to be sports management, but I loved working with kids. And so that's how the two combined.
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, like, damn. I kept thinking of like, if I stay in this place and I'm teaching phys ed and I'm the basketball coach, because I'm the basketball coach at the time, I'm like, what message am I sending? Right? Am I saying like the only way you could be successful is through sports? Right? And so that like now that started the way with me, right? Like you got the soccer coach, like you got the baseball coach, the basketball coach, the track coach.
Right.
And I'm like, those positions are needed.
Right.
But if my vision is bigger and I want to prove to them that they could do things outside the realm of athletics, then should I be coaching basketball? Like somebody could do it, but should I be doing it? And that would weigh on me, was led to me saying, all right, well, I got to show them a different avenue, which is how it was like, all right, I had the summer program, and we'll probably get into that, but I'm going to treat this like school that doesn't happen for 10 months.
Right. And that's so true. That's why I started Slice of Excellence. We trade report cards for pizza. We throw monthly pizza parties for perfect attendance.
Love it.
And quarterly pizza parties for report cards. So I didn't want to go the sports route. I had to make academics fly, showing up to school fly.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to incentivize and reward those things on a monthly basis.
Yeah, you chase around that. I mean, when you coach, it's like, that's a whole nother job outside of it. It's like, now you have to have a direct relationship with your colleagues, like, because these 12 or 13 kids, you need them to be present. You want them to show up. You want them to be a representation of you. And so that was one of the things we did was like, yo, every day we had a game. It was shirt and tie. There was no exceptions. You didn't have it, you wasn't playing. And if you didn't practice well, you wasn't playing. And so I told them like, yo, you're now the leaders of the school. Because if a school doesn't have any sports and if it doesn't have any like culture, then it's just a free for all. But once they have one thing, like there was nothing and now we have the one thing, now we can pinpoint that. Now you become the target. Right. Hey, Millings, yo, he didn't hand in his homework. I'm like, but he hasn't handed in his homework for the first 3 weeks of school. Like, I'm gonna talk to him, but like there's some communication that you probably need to have with him too. Right. But you get that times 13, you get that for every week of the season, and then when the season's over, now they don't have basketball. Now it's what? Right. So I was like, all right, well, we got to figure something out to hold the kids accountable. And so we had like you had like a PBIS system, positive behavior incentive system for those that are not in education. Right. That would help incentivize it. And so we had to make intramurals now a thing. Right. The sports went so well. Like now, how do we tie sports to keep them engaged, but hold them accountable for the things that they wanted to do.
Right. Love that. So Forbes,
Yeah.
Rashad Bilal, a financial advisor, and Troy Millings, an educator, have quickly become the cultural kings of financial literacy. The dynamic duo from the Bronx is on a quest to provide access to financial knowledge that the Black community can use to affect real change.
Yeah.
How did it feel to be in Forbes, bro? Yo, as a person that I've listened to hundreds of, like over 100 episodes, this is surreal being here.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the show
Yeah.
and what you guys stand for.
Yes, sir.
And it's like to see you guys in Forbes it's such a blessing to just to witness it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
how did they feel to have that write-up about you guys?
I think it's dope. You know, Forbes is something that I've read for many years. So to be in that publication, it was dope. But I felt the same way that when we were in Black Enterprise. I don't want to discourage, the culture that helped get us here, right? So the first person to ever write about us was Black Enterprise.
Right.
And that felt amazing because it was like, oh, we're being recognized for the work that we're doing. Forbes wrote about us, Bloomberg, Business Insider, Market Watch. Like we've been inside all these. They always feel great because you don't do the work to be recognized in that way, but the fact that you are lets you know you're on the right path. Right. And so anytime we're acknowledged in that sense, it's like, all right, this is dope because these are the type of pages that we wouldn't have been in. Right. Like I always use hip hop as my reference. And I was like, I remember when Jay was like, Forbes is pretty impressive, especially because I wasn't in the artist section, had me with the Titans and the Villains, had me fighting Rupert Murdoch, some billionaire dudes and some dudes you never heard of. And I was like, damn. Yo, he's right. I opened the Forbes. I'm like, yo, they got him in the mobile section. This is bigger than music. Right. I was like, yo, that's aspirational. All right, so to be in the same publication, I think is incredible. But there's so much more work to do. Right. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't stop with being written and paid. It's about the impact, right? Does that inspire the next generation? Right. Does that inspire the next person that's reading it the same way when I heard Jay say that? Are we inspiring at that level? So that's always the goal. And then the other part is that they keep saying that we're from the Bronx. And shout out to the Bronx. Right. Shout out to the Bronx. But we're from Greenburgh, New York. Okay. We have ties to the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx. I started the first school I ever walked in was in PS 93 in the South Bronx. Shout out to Soundview. Shotty's family was in the Bronx when he, obviously when he was born. And then we moved to Greenburgh where we were raised. And so, yes, the Bronx is near and dear to me. My whole family's there. I taught there. Right. I went to school there for the first couple of years of my life. But we were raised in Greenburgh, New York. Right. So I can't leave the town out of this when we talk about it.
Well, I'm probably going to be borough president of the Bronx someday.
Shout out to VS.
We claim Troy and Rashad in the Bronx, right? we going to leave it at that.
Shout out to the Bronx, man.
But how was your childhood, man?
Childhood was dope, man. I was the youngest of three. My parents are from Jamaica. So, again, the ties to the Bronx, you can understand. But, yeah, we were in the South Bronx for the first couple of years of my life. And obviously, this is the 80s. Right. So it's a little different. And my parents protected us from that. I really had no idea at the time, like what was happening in the South Bronx. I just knew that, I was with my brothers. We had Atari. We was good. My man down the hall had HBO, which was something new. And we was like, yo, let's go to his crib to watch it. And then football and sports became something because my dad used to throw Super Bowl parties, and we would watch that. And then this thing called hip-hop came into my house, and that was it. When hip-hop came into my house, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I had the luxury, I say the extreme luxury. My dad, one day, I tell the story about KRS. I never met him, but he had a huge impact in my life. My dad was downstairs coming up the elevator, and in the lobby, they was handing out vinyls, and it was BDP. And so they handed him a vinyl, and it was South Bronx, and it was The Bridge Is Over. Right. And my brother Hal, my older brother, he's 10 years older, he put that on the record player. And when I heard South Bronx, I was like, what? Like, because I'm in the South Bronx. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I'm like 5, 6 years old. I'm like, this is it. This is my favorite thing. This is my favorite rap. And then my parents were like, all right, we're getting out of here. Right. So they moved us to Greenburgh. I remember when they showed us the map, and they were like, White Plains. And I'm like, White Plains? And they're like, Greenburgh. I'm like, Greenburgh? Like, what is this? And when I saw where we were going, we had a house. Like, I'm going from Soundview to a house with a yard. And I'm just like, oh, this is different. I got a room. This is crazy. I got a lawn. And then I looked across the street, my neighbors are white. Right. I'm like, oh, this is really different. This is really different, because the only time you saw white people was your teacher. Right. And I'm like, this is really different. But I mean, Greenberg is so unique in a sense where it's a bunch of middle-class Black families, working-class Black families, living in houses, wealth. You know, some people are on lower income, but they all live in community.
Right.
And so that was unique because I mean, even now, I question, like, how did you find this place? Like, this place it nurtured me. I give credit to it over and over because it gave me purpose. Like, I found a passion for what I want to do in life, right? Like, it's the first place that gave me a job, right? I worked at my community center for years, probably over 20 years, but inside of that, I found a passion for working with kids. I'm like, oh, this is a natural gift. I can do this. I found my wife. I found my best friends, my business partners, all in this community. I'm like, yo, how did they find this place? This middle to working class Black families, all in the same place, all living in community. It was so unique. And that's like, when I talk about the greatest gifts that my parents could have ever given me, I always mention that because who knows what happens if I stay in Soundview? Who knows? Like, we probably don't even have this conversation.
Right.
But the fact that they did, the fact that I was able to see different walks of life, the fact that education became paramount for me, the fact that I was able to build relationships and keep all those relationships. Like the guys you mentioned, like I know Shadi since he was 11 years old.
Wow.
Mike is our other business partner. I knew him when he was 5, 6 years old. Wow. These are my business partners. These are my friends. I knew Ab, who, shout out to Ab. I know him since he's 9 years old, 8 years old.
Right.
Like, he's a grown man now. You get on the phone with him, that's big business you're talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known these guys but that's what this community is. And I'm thankful that I was able to be a part of it and play a part in the impact of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I definitely want to shout out Ab. I know he's here in the building, but, avid believer in conversation with Zoe, in the platform and myself.
Fact.
And, you guys got to wait your turn sometimes. You got to stay in motion. You may want something and it may not be for you at that moment. That 19 Kids interview, I sent that email a year before it actually happened. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't just send that email and stop. I had to keep going.
Yeah.
And then, they told me you guys were at WTF.
We ran into each other.
I waited.
Yeah.
We didn't run into you. I waited.
Wait, I didn't know that part. I didn't know that part.
And that's why I was like, the icebreaker was, I was outside waiting for y'all like I had a mixtape for y'all. And y'all laughed. And then, because, you guys like hip-hop, and I was like, that was my way of being like, hey, I just wanted to introduce you guys. Huge fan of you guys. Thank you for everything you do. But I think my shoot was like, it ended at like 11:30. You guys were there like 1. I was there like 45 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, it was well worth the wait. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the days off. And it was just like, I just had to make that in person, and I met Ab, and the rest is history. Yeah,
and I appreciate it. I remember you telling me you was a teacher, and anytime I had teachers that are doing something outside of the realm or the box that they think that is possible for us, I'm always like, all right, let's do it. So once Ab says let's do it, and it's gonna get done.
Right, appreciate that. What was your relationship like with your parents?
Oh, it was a loving one, man. It still is. I'm very blessed to have them in my lives. My dad, he. In terms of financial education, because I'll tie it back to that, I'm not sure how in-depth his knowledge base was, but you wouldn't know. Right. I used to call my dad like the professional charlatan. Right. And I was like, that's somebody who pretends to know things and they really don't. Right. But he can fake it. Right. He can fake it for a long time. And so I had to learn a lot of things on my own when it comes to finance, but on life, I had to watch him and lead and learn from his demonstration. Right. And so I watched, like, how he treated my mom and how he, poured into his sons. And, a lot of times he couldn't be there for some of the things we took part in, but he took pride in how we looked and how we presented ourselves. He wanted to make sure that, he believed in us. Those things, like just being there for that was like, all right. And then it was flaws too. Right. And it was like, all right, well, I want to do this differently when I become a father. Right. And I would handle that differently if I was becoming a father. Or when I become one, this is how I'm going to be. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to learn from that. And I did. And as you become older, I never forget a great friend of mine gave me some advice. And she was like, at the time I was an adult and me and my dad's relationship was slightly rocky, not crazy, but she was like, do you know what it is to be a husband? And at the time I wasn't married. I was like, no. She was like, do you know what it is to be a father? And I was like, I had no kids at the time. I'm like, not really. She was like, so how can you know what he's dealing with? Right. I forgot to look at, you don't look at your dad as a person. Right. And I'm like, nah, I don't. She was like, now imagine you got 3 boys and you're the one that's working and your wife isn't, and your whole family's relying on you. Do you know what that pressure feels like? And I was like, nah. She was like, did he have a father? I'm like, nah. She was like, so he's just doing what he can. He didn't even have somebody to model himself after.
Right.
He has 3 boys that are gonna become men.
Right.
He didn't have a father, but he's raising future fathers. Give him grace. And I was like, ooh.
Beautiful word, grace.
Ooh.
Beautiful word.
And then my mom, I mean.
Very tasty, cheesy, oniony, all of the above.
One word to describe it, scrumptious, right? We from the town, so we just gonna say pause first, but it melts in your mouth. You just love it. You know what I'm saying? I wear this shirt to sleep. How much I love 7th Street Burger, man. It's near and dear to my heart. You see the logo? It's near to my heart. That's how we do it, man. Peace.
If there was heaven on earth, that would be Juliet Millings. You know, you're talking about somebody who pours everything into her boys, pours everything into her family, will give you the shirt off her back, give you the socks off her feet, worships the ground that her kids walk on, is always proud of us. I think me and my mom, our relationship is different when it comes to, especially me and my siblings. I would think that me and her have like a best friend relationship where I drive her crazy, she drives me crazy, but it's always love. There's nothing that I know she wouldn't do at the drop of a dime for me. And she gets frustrated now because she's like, I would do everything at a drop of a dime. And I'm like, Mom, I don't have a drop or a dime. Right. Like I'm super busy. Like I can't fix the printer right now, but I will get somebody to do it. No, I want you to do it. I'm like, times has changed, like, you know what I mean? But she's just pure. I don't even think I've heard my mom curse. She's 74 years old. I don't think I've ever heard her curse. I've seen her get angry a few times, but she's our everything. She's the rock of our family and super important. So my parents, again, Jamaican, they kept us in that culture. Right. I don't know how proud they were to be Jamaican. Right. I feel like I'm more proud of them being Jamaican. Right. I just love our culture so much. But yeah, it's incredible, man. So I had the opportunity as I got older. I took them back to their old neighborhood to see it, and so that was dope. Beautiful. That was dope.
Beautiful. What was high school like for you?
High school was the shit. High school was the shit, man. That's where we got to explore and figure out who we were, you know. And I grew up in a time, especially in the mid '90s, where now it's hip hop and it's fashion, right? And people, you getting your license and girls is flocking and you figuring that thing out. You playing ball, and so we had a ball. Like I was in school, my older brother Greg, who plays a vital role in this too, is like he was a senior in high school. I was a freshman, and so I had him and his crew. Right. We just had a ball, man. Ran track. I mean, it's interesting when I switched school districts. When I came to Greenberg, I was in a school district where the neighborhood I was in was predominantly black, but the school we went to was predominantly white. So all the kids from my neighborhood, I knew everybody that was black that went to the school. Right. And then when I got to 7th grade, I switched and went to the high school where I graduated from, Woodlands, where it was predominantly black. And I was like, okay, this is different. I used to be like all county chorus. Right. I was all county band. Right. I came here and I'm like, nah, playing the saxophone ain't cool no more. Like, you know what I'm saying?
We ain't trying to be Kenny G and nothing like that.
Yeah, they ain't flying no more, bro. Yeah. Like, being in all county chorus ain't the cool thing no more. So it was like you had to play a sport, and you had to figure out who you were gonna be if you weren't gonna be that. Yeah. And I was like being like the coolest kid to now like I gotta figure out who I'm gonna be. But I had some of those relationships because I said I was in a community center with some of those kids. And then gradually it just grew. You know, I started having my own identity. I was like the funny guy, but just was cool with everybody. I poured into everybody. I just felt like, you know what? I never had a younger sibling, and so I treated everybody like, they was my brother or my cousins. Right. Because like I was growing up with just my brothers, and I didn't really have too many cousins that was in my life, so I treated my friends like that. And that's why they still around. Like I treat everybody like a family because that's the feel that our community has, and so it was like a natural thing. And so when we was in high school, man, we went crazy. We had a ball. Most people say like they would never go back to high school. Right. I would definitely go back. We had too much fun.
I would go back. Boarding school was a good time.
Yeah, we had fun.
I would definitely go back. So what was college like for you?
College was interesting. This is when financial education comes into play. Right. Because at the time I'm thinking to myself, actually I started realizing it early. I'm like, me and my brother are 2.5 years apart. And I'm realizing my mom is not working at the time. She had a health issue, so she stopped working. This is like 98. My dad is working. I'm not sure how much he makes, just because, you don't talk about money in the household. Like, who knows what your parents make. Right. But I'm trying to figure out how we're going to pay for college if my brother goes And then 3 years later, now I'm going. So can we afford to have 2 kids in college at the same time? I'm thinking this at 10th grade, 11th grade, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, I'm like, I can't, I'm trying to go to Notre Dame.
Right.
Like, I'm like, that's where I want to go to school. After that, I'm like, nah, I want to go to Miami. I'm like, how? I'm looking at the price. I'm like, there's no way. And then finally, I'm like, all right, I'll try to stay close. And I'll go to UConn. And at the time, like, I wanted to study physical therapy because I wanted to be around sports. Even if I wasn't going to be playing them, I wanted to help people get back. And I was like, UConn, I can't even afford that. So I had to make a decision. I'm like, all right, well, if I don't go away, then I don't have to pay room and board. So let me find something that's close. And I was looking at a few schools, and I was like, I don't really want to go to community college. There's no knock on it, but I didn't just want to do a 2-year associates and move on. I wanted to figure out somewhere I could stay, get my bachelor's degree, and move. And I ended up at Mercy College. So I stayed at home and went to school in the evenings. And so during the day, I was working. Like, I've been working since I was like 15. So I worked inside. I think my first job I was a hall monitor?
Right.
I was a hall monitor. And I'm going to school in the evening, and then I'm working during the day as a hall monitor, and then I'm going to my community center. I'm working in the after-school program. Right. So I got 2 jobs, and then I'm going to school in the evening. So the after-school program is where I meet him, because he became my student inside of there. Right. And then I'm just doing that for years, and I'm just like, man, this is really a grind. Right. Like, this is really a grind. I don't think people even see that. And then I was going so hard that it influenced my brother, who had stopped going to school, to go back. Right. So he was like, yo, he's watching me go to school. He's like, yo, he's doing this. He's doing 2 jobs and he's going to school. I could do this. And so he goes back to school. And then we started taking classes on Saturdays. Now we're in class together. This is the first time in our lives we're in class together going crazy. Because like, it's like, when you got to make a group. Right. I'm like, yo, who going to join us? We got 2 already. Right. And we like just going back and forth, doing projects, going crazy, and following each other's lead. Like, he was going for his degree in guidance counselor, so he's taking a lot of psych classes. So every class he took, I would take. Right. So I think I'm like 1 credit short of having a degree in psych, just because I was following him. Right. But I did that in like 4 years. I was like, after year 3, I'm taking these classes. I'm like, yo, I don't really think I'm gonna be a physical therapist. Right. And I realized quick, I'm like, I'm taking these tests and I'm bombing. Like, I've never failed like I was failing at these tests. Right. And I remember the professor was in a lecture hall. It was like 60 of us. And he's like, look, only 5 of you are gonna make it to the grad program. I'm like, 5 out of the 60? Jeez. They were like, so, just keep working hard. Only 5 of you are gonna make it. So good luck to the rest of you. And I'm just like, I just got a 37 on this test. I'm definitely not gonna be in this 5. Right. I gotta figure something else out. And I was like, I really didn't want to do physical therapy. Although, I had interned and tried it. I'm like, this isn't what I thought. I thought I was gonna be like in the NBA, right. Somebody gets hurt.
For the Knicks.
I'm coming back. I'm rehabbing. I wanted to stay around sports. When I interned, I was dealing with like 70-year-old patients putting like glue on their hands because they were dealing with arthritis and putting heating pads. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. Right. And so I was like, well, I got all these credits. What can I do? And I looked at all the degrees. I'm like, oh, health science. I could do health science. That's gonna be. I'm gonna graduate with a health science degree because I had already took all these science classes. And I was fortunate enough to get out of there with a health science degree. But the problem is, when you have a health science degree, what can you do? Right. And I was like, damn. I remember sitting there like, my son just asked me this question yesterday. He's like, how did it feel when you graduated college? And I was like, I was confused. Right. He was like, well, why? I'm like, well, I didn't know what I could do with my degree. Right. And so I literally sat down and I thought to myself, all right, what are you naturally good at? Like, science isn't it. But you are naturally good at working with kids because you have been working in your community center for years. Like, you're great at that. Like, that comes naturally to you. So I was like, all right, let me see. I could take the health science degree. I could work with kids. I could teach phys ed. Right. And now I could be around sports again. I could be around kids. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to run with it. That same day I thought about that, we had like all of us had graduated like from college, and we had this like get together at my man Jamal's house. And we were talking about what we're going to do in the future. I had just figured out, like, I'm probably going to teach phys ed. And my man was saying he's going to go into business. And I remember Mike, my partner Mike, he was like, yeah, I just read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, changed my life. And he starts talking to me about the book. And then I found out that, like, Jamal had read it, Jay had read it, Shadi had read it. And I'm sitting there like, yo, I ain't read it. I don't even add to the conversation. And I remember that feeling like, yo, damn, I could not add to this conversation because I was completely unaware of it. The next day I got the book, I read it. I was like, yo, they're never gonna have another conversation, especially about anything like business, and I can't add to the conversation. And that's like, literally, that's the journey starts for me for financial education. Like, I didn't want to be left out of any conversations.
Right.
Like, it felt the way to me. And it wasn't like, I guess it was like a challenge, like, yo, he knows more than me? Oh, nah. No, but no, that's it. Nah, I'm locking in.
Right, and that's what I want, young black boys and girls to be enamored by, like the financial literacy, reading, get excited about those things. I feel like these are things that we have to continue to, like, the content is being consumed every day, but what are we consuming? And I want us to have black men, leaders in the community, women too, talk about education, talk about empowering yourself, uplifting yourself, more positive things that are going to uplift us and make us greater.
Yeah, it's important. Every day I read.
Right.
I used to discount the fact that I read, because in school, especially, you'll get literature that you have to read, but sometimes it's not enjoyable. But what I would read was ESPN magazine, front to back. I would read The Source. I read the XXL. I was reading. I just wasn't reading like literature. I would read the Daily News. I always shout out to Mike Lupica. Every day my dad worked in the city, he'd bring the paper home. I get the paper from him as soon as he get home. I go to Mike Lupica's section in the sports. I would read the paper from back to front. Because the thing that interested me most was the sports. So that's why I would know statistics. Even now, people think like I'm like this like sports almanac. Like I'll know statistics because I've always read statistics. I want to know the stats. I want to know where you went to school. I want to know how you performed on your birth. Like how much you averaged on your birthday. All these things I want to know, and then I'll go to the other sections because then it's like entertainment, and then it's like business in the middle, and then it's like gossip in the front. So I was always reading it back to forth. But when I ask people like, yo, do you like reading? I'll be like, nah. They're like, how many books you read? I don't really know. A couple books. But every day I was reading. And so now it made me realize, especially going into this journey, because again, like nothing about that story I told you says finance. Nothing about that tells you business, right? Nothing tells you financial education. Those are all things I had to figure out and learn on my own because of the reading. And so I would wake up, even now, like this morning, I wake up, it's the same routine, right? And it became part of my daily habit. It's like I read Yahoo Finance, I read CNBC, I read Market Watch, I read Bloomberg, I read Business Insider, I read Fox Business, I read The Verge, sometimes I'll read Hollywood Reporter, I'll read Investors Daily, all before you wake up. Right. I'm doing that. And the reason I'm doing that before you wake up is because I know that you're gonna rely on me to give you information, right? If we got Earn Your Leisure, where are we gonna get the information? In the early days, I would wake up, read, send articles to Shadi. Because I knew if I start my day working, I'm probably not getting another chance. And I know you're not gonna read that many publications. You're just not going to. If you're not interested, you're not going to. But what I could do is read all of those publications, find the 2 or 3 things that I think you might be interested in, and now send that to be posted. And guess what happens? You don't have to read it now. Right. I did the job for you. Right. So like that habit, that practice over a course of like 7 years, now it's like, oh yeah, there's nothing you can tell me. Right. Yeah, I know, I read it. I already read it. Before you woke up, I read it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Love that. So what does Earn Your Leisure mean to you?
It's crazy. So everything I explained about when I was going to school, when we were thinking of the title, and Shadi, same thing. Like that dedication that you have to be a collegiate athlete is different. They didn't see his sacrifice. Right? You never saw that. You never see the work. Nobody sees the work, right? People see the finish line. They see the results. But the work is the journey, right? Like there's the glory in the journey. And so everything that we had, especially coming from where we live, right? When people think Westchester, they think Silver Spoon kids. Yeah. They think that everybody's wealthy because the county's wealthy. And I'm like, nah, bro, I can show you some parts that look like the city. In fact, Mount Vernon and the Bronx border each other, right? And so you can walk from 241st up a block and it still feel like the Bronx. Right. And I'm like, nah, bro, like Westchester has some of these things, just not at the highest, at the same level. I'm like, yo, man, they think we really Silver Spoon kids. They don't see the hard work. They never saw me sitting in the hall for hours reading and then being a hall monitor, then being a teacher assistant, then finally being a teacher aide. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'm doing that. I'm going to school at night. I'm going to school on Saturdays. I'm trying to figure this thing out. He's studying. I remember when he was trying to, get his career started in financial advising. Remember, he locked himself in his crib. He would not come outside. Like hours. I'm like, yo, we about to go. You trying to do something? Like, nah, I gotta study, bro. I'm like, yo, you been studying all day? He's like, yeah, bro, I gotta knock this out. I can't miss this. They never saw those sacrifices. I was like, yo, people saw us have the nice cars. They saw us have nice clothes, nice things. I'm like, nah, bro, everything that we have, we've earned.
Yes, sir.
Like, we've literally earned everything we've had. We've earned those leisures. We've earned the freedom to do some of these things. We had some dope parties. We've earned that. So the respect that we got was earned, right? The loyalty, the relationships that we got, all that's earned. And it still is true to this day. Like, everything we had, we built from the ground up. There was no cosign when we started this, right? You talking about a guy who was teaching in the Bronx and the dude was a financial advisor. Straight up, a gym teacher at that. Like, most people like to say that. Like, yo, he's a gym teacher. I'm like, yeah, but I was more than that too. There was nobody saying, hey, you guys should start this and here's the cosign and here's the money. Nah, it was off the muscle. Like, we had dialogue. We were teaching already with kids in our summer program about financial education. It was a natural relationship that we had. We spoke every day. And it was like, all right, well, let's start recording this thing. Let's create the show. And that grew into this. But it's still based on everything that we had was earned. When it was our iPhones that we was recording with and our shotgun mics we was recording with, and this mini, I had the MacBook Mini. I didn't even have like a Pro. I had like the little mini joint that could fit like in your pocket type shit. And that was our studio. Right. Up until the point where we at now. And it's like, I watched all this stuff happen just off the muscle. So everything we had to this day is earned. And I think it's dope because people have taken on their own meaning to earn your leisure. Right. In fact, it always hits me when people are like, yo, you know what that means to me? I'm like, nah, tell me. Because I remember when it was just a thought in my head. Right. It was just a hashtag for Shotty. I'm like, yeah, tell me what it means to you. I'm like, that's so profound, bro. I think that's really incredible. And now, like, it's synonymous with me. Like, something that was thought in my head is now what I'm known for. Like, most people will be like, yo, EYL, when they see you. They don't be like, yo, this goes Troy, there goes Shotty. Yo, EYL. And then they'll say your name.
This all gave me chills. This is episode 197, 198, something like that. Almost at 200.
Congrats.
And, just to create a platform, that makes education cool, rappers, artists, financial literacy, doctors, anybody come have a conversation with Zoe. And this is just great, bro. Like,
I appreciate it. And I think what you said is important. That statement right there. Yo, you making education cool. Right. Like, think about what that does to our community. Right. Like, Dame Dash was like, yo, y'all make this shit sexy. Yeah. Like, how y'all make learning sexy?
Like that.
How y'all make this, like, sexy? Y'all making it fly. Like, y'all driving fly cars. Y'all got Rolexes. And y'all really doing it. Y'all wearing fabrics. Y'all showing up. But y'all teaching? Mm-hmm. Like, no, it's like the best mindfuck of all time. Right. It's like, nah, yo, we making this shit cool because it should be. It shouldn't feel like it's over your head. You can participate in this.
Yes, you can.
You can reap the benefits 100%. Of it. And we just came to decode the matrix.
Right. And that's the most important thing. Sometimes we overlook certain places because we feel like we don't belong. Mm-hmm. But we do belong, and we can be great at it. And when you got in these mindsets, you've gotten outside of the Bronx. I got out the Bronx a little later at 16 when I went to boarding school. Mm-hmm. So that showed me a different world. And like, oh, I can go anywhere and be great. Mm-hmm. Once I find myself and I find my passion. So it's funny, everybody used to say, oh, here comes Red Run, or here comes the preacher, right? But look where all my preaching got me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm able to do things. I'm able to have cool hobbies outside of school, impact my community, and do fly things in the Bronx. Sneaker giveaways with Fat Joe, sneaker giveaways with Snipes, met 8 Boogie and Davies on Thanksgiving.
That's dope.
All these things from an idea. Dream big, and the hustle is sold separately though.
The hustle is so
go get it.
Separate. That's what I said, man. This is an iPhone and an idea. Mm-hmm. That's all this started with.
Right. My first episode was my iPhone 7.
It could be done.
Now we had Greenleaf, baby.
It could be done. You know what I'm saying? It could be done, and that was the thing. But I think what people appreciate inside of that grind is that they get to watch it happen firsthand. Right. So they watch you with iPhones, right? They watch us with these shotgun mics. They watch me at my dining room table. Like we didn't have a studio. We didn't have no lights. Right. I had my dining room table and my chandelier. Right. And sometimes I had to turn the chandelier because the light waves would come off in the camera. Right. So that's what we started with. But people watched us grow to like, all right, well now, oh, they got 4K cameras. Right. Oh, they got short mics now. Right. Oh, they what's that? They got the G95? Oh, hold on. What XLR cord they using? Oh, they got a different interface now. Wait, they changed their whole setup.
Right.
They growing with you.
You got a Deem Dash intro.
Bag drop.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but listen,
bag drop.
This is only part one of a 3-part interview. So Rashad Bilal, you're next.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna bring the two guys together, right? That's my vision, and that's what's gonna happen. So we gotta end with our final question though.
Let's do it.
What would be your message to your younger self?
Ooh, my younger self. It's a good one. My younger self, I would tell him to dream big, continue to follow passion, continue to follow purpose. Actually, follow passion, but lead with purpose.
Yes.
I think passion fades. What your purpose is, what you're destined to do, that's God-given.
Yes, sir.
And so I always say, people are like, well, how do I know what my purpose is? I tell them, look, find the thing you're naturally gifted at. That's because God sent that to you. Find the thing that adds value, right? That course street, add value, what you're naturally gifted at. That's your purpose. That'll drive you ahead. And I would say, man, I love everything about my younger self, man, to be honest with you. But I would say trust the process, and don't discount the things that are important to you, right? So like I said, with reading, I always felt like I wasn't reading, not realizing that I was. It's just what was important to me. Had I been reading about financial education when I was 14, who knows?
Right.
Like, who knows? Like, really, sky's the limit. Because there's something it's definitely my dad and myself, I see the same similar characteristics. When we like something, we become obsessive about it. Right. And so, like, now it becomes finances. I'm obsessed about it. Like, I wake up and that's what I'm doing. Before I go to sleep, that's what I'm doing. Right. You know what I'm saying? Midday, that's what I'm doing. Right. All the time. When it was sports, it was sports. When it was video games, it was video games. Right. And so, yeah, man, don't discount the things that you find important and you deem important. And just continue to grind. Continue to grind, man. Right. Yeah. That younger version, I think, and remaining your authentic self has helped because I haven't had to deviate from who I really was. Like, the people who have known me since I was 16 be like, yo, you never changed, bro. Right. And I just be like, I love hearing that because I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like I have. Right. I don't feel like I really have. I'm still like a genuine dude, a humble dude, love being around my family, love taking care of my family, love my friends, love to laugh, love to joke, and love to chill, man. I'm still that guy. Right.
Just a bigger platform, that's all.
Yeah, the world get to see it now.
Absolutely, man. So listen, part one of a 3-part episode right here on Conversation with Zoe. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. You know how to find this guy. Troy Millings on Instagram, Earn Your Leisure, website, merch. And I got a shirt that's on ice that I got from Earn Your Leisure that I'm aware when we do the 3-part episode with all three of us.
Fire.
So intentional and ready and stay blessed, man. Yeah. Have a safe summer. Be selective on your events. Be selective on who you hang out with. I'm gonna keep saying it. All my episodes in May and June. Have a say, especially you got a scholarship, you got things to live for. Listen, live to fight another day. Somebody's being aggressive, you got it. You know got it. Make it home. That's what we all want to do.
Yeah, we need you.
Yes.
Like, the world needs you. You have a contribution. If you haven't figured it out yet, that will come to light before you know it. So we need you. The world needs you. Your family needs you. Your friends need you. Your community needs you. Let's stay positive. Let's stay safe. And let's see everybody at InvestFest, man.
Absolutely,
InvestFest,
man.
August 23rd through the 25th in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the biggest event inside of the community, man. So this is something that we built from the ground up. To see where it's at now is incredible. We got a monster lineup. I'm talking monster. It's going to be a special year, and it's the year of give back. Right. It's going to be the most important one. We're looking heavy into impact, right? It's cool to show what you've done, but how impactful have you been is the most important thing. So yeah, let's do it, man. We'll see y'all in August. Be safe. Be safe. Love. Big Zoe, not the little Zoe.
We here. All right. Peace and love, world. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, support the channel, show your love. You know what I'm saying? We having great conversation week in and week out. You never know who's coming. You never know what we're going to do. But at the end of the day, it's all about peace and love. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment.